Yeah.
Hello, welcome to Online Seller UK podcast. My name is Prabhat. I'm founder at Online Seller UK, and we've been doing podcasts for the last year on various topics for Seller Central, Vendor Central, Amazon PPC, and so on. So today I've got Chris, director at KhooCommerce, and we are intending to talk about Amazon vendor automation, EDI, and Chargebacks. So Chris, welcome to our podcast.
Sure, great. Thanks for having me, Prabhat. It's fantastic to be here.
Excellent. So, I introduced the topic. Do you want to talk a little bit about what vendor automation and what is EDI and what is chargebacks?
Yeah, it's a huge topic, but there's lots to say. So Amazon's split into Amazon seller and Amazon vendor. Vendor is the wholesale relationship, typically invite only, where you supply your products to Amazon. There's a lot of talk that happens to do with advertising, building your brand, keywords, listings, optimization. Lots of businesses out there that will do that. We sit more on the other side to do with logistics, automation, nuts and bolts kind of discussions to do with, if you double your sales, are you going to also need to hire more people in admin, or do you want to get some systems in place to help automate some processes for you? Because you want to be making money, you want to be saving time, you want to be cutting down your vendor lead time, you want to be reducing your chargebacks, and that's really where systems and automation can kind of be part of the solution for you as you're growing, your account. And that can be, if you're going from £10,000 a month up to 100, or it could be if you're going from £1 million a year up to 50. For every company, wherever you're at in your journey with vendor, systems are always going to be a good idea to automating and helping to just really save you time, because you don't want to be hiring more people to do very manual jobs. That's really where systems and EDI come in.
Yeah, excellent. So you mentioned you sit in the logistics side and so on. So I understand that's a huge part of the vendor operation. So can you talk us through, what does the day-to-day operations of a vendor seller looks like?
Yeah, so there are typically a few different stages. You've got the orders being raised by Amazon. So that's the purchase orders come in, usually Monday morning or kind of Sunday evening is when you get most of them in the week. Typically also Wednesday morning, 3-4 o'clock in the morning, you'll get a huge wave. Some people we work with, honestly, they get hundreds every single week. And each purchase order will have several different items on it. I did some stats actually the other week. The average vendor we work with gets 130 orders every single week, and each order has 14 different items on it, on average. And so, that's a good number of different rows to process. And usually someone will download that, import it into an internal system like NetSuite, Microsoft Dynamics, SAP, something like that.
Yeah.
And you have to go back into Amazon, and then you have to adjust this item. I accept this quantity. This item, I accept that quantity. And, I've just mentioned some big numbers. That's over 1,000 rows of different things to edit. So that can be quite a manual process for people. That's the first big chunk of work, is kind of accepting the orders, creating the pick list, sending it to the warehouse. That can take a few hours. The second half of the process is making your shipments. And Amazon now require you provide carton level information. This item went in this box for every single shipment. And when you've got large consignments, that can also turn out to be quite a slow process, particularly for mixed shipments. So that's really where we help people speed that process up. Then you've got invoicing, which can be slow. So they're the three main parts: the order acceptance, the shipments, and the invoices.
Okay. So I think, as you mentioned, it's going to be quite a lot of time-consuming task in terms of processing each line of orders and so on. So certainly we need a system for that. So talk us through what sort of systems are available for a vendor to manage this.
So traditionally, you go on webinars with Amazon, they'll say to you, if you're growing, what you want to do is get EDI set up. So EDI, just electronic data interchange, just takes out orders from Amazon, dumps them into your system. And most people will get that, or they'll also get the one that sends invoices from their system back to Amazon. So you can get a kind of standard EDI connection. There are loads of really great companies out there that will help facilitate that connection for you. If you just search for an EDI provider on Google, you'll find some. The challenge tends to be, though, that there's still the work you have to do to accept the order and to make the shipment. And there are EDI messages for that as well, but it might be that the warehouse management system or your ERP that you're working on can't communicate that back to Amazon in a very easy way. Maybe it's not built in, or maybe you're on an older system that you've had for the last 15 years because that's the industry you're in, and it's not able to send either order acknowledgements or shipment notifications. And that's where, for example, I don't want to talk about us too much, but in the sense that the system we provide will help you have the ability to batch process orders really quickly, maybe only a few minutes to just go through every item, does it automatically. And then also the cartonization, because really what you need to do is capture this item went into this box. And, we've got warehouse friendly screens, we've got barcode scanners, we've got things that help people put the stuff in the box and then print the labels straight away. That's what you're really looking for in a system. You want something that can help you process the purchase orders, make your shipments, make your invoices, reduce the number of touch points as well per order.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're your kind of options that you have as a system. It's basically EDI.
Okay. Yeah, you've mentioned something about cart, labeling the carton. I think it's being. I think it will be a bigger issue going forward because things have changed. Vendor works itself. So talk us through about carton labeling to us. How does it work and what a vendor needs to do to be prepared for that?
Yeah, there are really 4 different options that you can choose from as a vendor. You can either put no labels on at all, in which case they'll charge you 12 pence in the UK per item that's shipped. So a case of 20 will cost you £2.40 to receive. The Amazon container code label, that's the current method through Vendor Central. It's where you pick, this item went in this box, and you have to fill out through Amazon. You've got GTIN receive, which is really great for people that send fixed single SKU cartons. Can talk about that more. And then you've got SSCCs, or serial shipment container codes, which is when you've generated the code and you've captured it electronically, more like what we do, and you send it through EDI to them automatically in the background. So they're your 4 options. And depending on what type of business you are, one of them will suit you more than the other, typically. It's a bit more of an in-depth discussion, so I'm happy to have a follow-up with anyone that wants to know more about those different types. But they're really your options, and you want to try and find one that's going to basically be quick and cost-effective and save you money and save you shipment chargebacks on the way into Amazon. Yeah,
excellent. So now another difficult topic for any vendor is chargebacks. And I know of some vendor, they get very less chargebacks, and sometimes, you ignore it because the time taken to look at their chargebacks is a lot more than actually the value. So, I know a lot of people ignore it, but again, some other vendors may not be able to ignore because it could come in thousands of pounds. So talk us through what are the typical chargebacks that you've seen, and perhaps give us some suggestions to avoid them, or improve the system to avoid it.
Yeah, it's a big topic, and there's almost too much to say on it. But the most common ones that people struggle with are probably purchase order on-time accuracy, or PO on-time accuracy. That's probably the big one. You might also struggle with carton information compliance. That's a labeling chargeback. And then various other things like, POND. You might also struggle with things like invoice accuracy or down confirms and things like that. But the main one that I tend to talk to people about is PO on-time accuracy. Broken into 3 different subtypes: not filled, down confirmed, not on time, and it's due to a warehouse problem. Something is just to make sure that your systems are really compliant all the way through the journey. So, from processing the order through to shipping it, through to it arriving with Amazon, it's really important that it's compliant all the way through. There are some best practices. There are whole guides on Amazon. They've identified 8 root cause analysis problems to do with when you invoice versus when you ship, or making sure your catalog items are aligned correctly. But like you say, it comes down to a cost benefit thing of, if you're disputing 50p, it's not worth paying someone an hour to look into it. But if you're disputing obviously £5,000 of shortages, then it's worth, getting some people to go claim it back. And you can often find some good agencies that will, on your behalf, just go and chase these for you and claim you money back as well. So you need to kind of do a combined approach, and often it takes to sit down and look through what's your process, where are we going wrong, where could we do better, when are we accepting the order, when are we adjusting it, when it goes to the courier, when does the courier book it in, when does it arrive, when did we invoice, when was it shorted. You have to kind of really map that out for your process to get a good idea of where you could improve.
Yeah, excellent. So it down to the main key point is, if saying it outright, having a system like KhooCommerce. So it just helps a vendor to visualize each step easily, rather than when not having a system. It's like it's work in silos. Everything is separate and there is no link. Is that the right statement?
Well, it's part of the picture. It's not, there is no magic bullet to these things. But for example, purchase order on time accuracy, there's one for confirming. So if you make an adjustment to your purchase order late in the process, more than 5 days into the start of the shipping window, you're going to get charged for it. And so you have to do adjustments to what you've accepted when you're making a shipment. So if you use a system like ours, when you make a shipment, you can also cancel items, and we take those canceled items and automatically update the order previously. So because what someone might have to do in the current process is you accept the order, you make the shipment, and then you have to go back into the order and adjust what you're accepting. And not only is that expensive, but it's also a slow process. And if you forget to do it, you're suddenly being charged 9% of the item value for not shipping it on time, and that's that could just wipe out your profit on the shipment. So so those kind of things that can really help to tighten up your operation a lot more.
Yeah, absolutely. So so I think I'm just looking at my list here. I think I've covered everything that I needed to ask. Is there anything else to add in terms of vendor operation very quickly?
I just say, like, the thing that I always mention to people is, look at your current process, and you need to involve people from many different departments, usually warehouse, IT, admin, finance, maybe even some managerial roles as well, to get a big overview of, here's the Amazon account. Do we like it as a business? Are we going to invest in it? Are we growing? Most people over the last year have grown quite substantially. We had one client we worked with, they were doing £30,000 a month in sales. By December, they were doing 900, like £1,000 in a month. It was like, you can't imagine that curve. For them, they had to get a new warehouse, they had to hire new staff, and then with COVID, they had to split their teams into two. And they estimate, for example, that if they were doing their old process compared to, in our case, working with us, they said they'd be spending about another 100 hours a week of manual work, just processing paper, printing lists, picking orders. And it's worth doing a bit of kind of back of the envelope calculation. How long does it take us to process an order? Is it profitable for us? What's the margin we're making on this? And ask yourself, if we grew by double, what would we need to do to maintain and sustain that growth from a logistics perspective? So that's what I'd kind of say. And there are some questions you can ask, such as, how long do we spend on a Monday morning processing orders? How long do we take to create an ASN? Do we have to book it in with a courier? How often is the courier late? What's the difference between our delivery date and our invoice date? Things like that you want to ask to kind of drill down into the core of the operational piece.
Okay, no, that's good. So if somebody is to get to you, Chris, where's the best place to get to you?
So you can go to our website, www.khoocommerce.com. There's a contact form on there. You can email info@khoocommerce.com. You can put that in the link description below. Or you can, drop me a line on my phone. The phone number's on the website too. Or LinkedIn is also fine. You just send me a message there too. I think should be a link for my LinkedIn down there too.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, right. Thank you very much, Chris, for your time and explaining us about vendor operations and so on. Probably we'll catch up another time and book it, take another topic and talk again.
That would be great. Well,
all right. Then. Yeah, all the best. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.